No, I think they just know I'm the boss.
They know you at this point.
They know I'm the boss. Actually, usually those little ones like that are much more aggressive than the big ones. The big ones, they've been there, done that. You know, they've been handled a lot. You know, a lot of people have taken out, thrown them out of their trap. We do things to help the species. It helps us too. The back lies back there. This bottom one right here is further apart than all the rest. See, it's about the width of my two fingers. Yeah. When I was a kid building wooden traps for my grandfather, I couldn't wait till my fingers got big enough, so I didn't have to use a stick to check that, and I could just stick my fingers in the way he did, you know. Yeah. But you know how that is. So he had a trap factory. This is the kind of trap that he built, also square ones, and they're quite sought after now because people, you know, they clean them all up and deodorize them and so forth. And they put them up, these they put upside down and put a glass bottom on them, and which becomes the top, and they use them for tables and, you know, different things, coffee tables. But I knit, and he taught us all how to knit these heads. My brothers and I, I had two brothers besides myself. And so we worked, all the cousins, I had about 5 cousins, and all of us worked at my grandfather's trap factory after school every night. So here's your measure here. This one, ooh, not quite, pretty close. But this is another female, and she's just getting ready to shed right now. You can see how black her claws are right in here, and she's dark here because a lot of this stuff that's on here now, filaments left over from the eggs. Each egg looks like it's perfectly round, but it has a little microscopic tail, and they all hook together, and then they hook onto these hairs in here, and that's how they stay in place. Okay, you can't see them until you get a bunch of them, and then if you slide your fingers through here, sometimes they'll come off in your hand. You know, I don't even see that she doesn't like that either. But you can see how worn her shell is, and the reason for that is basically from the time she sheds and then mates, it is 18 months to 2 years before the eggs actually hatch and float away.
Wow.
All right. So to back up a little bit, so you can see what that's about, is that the male lobsters in the spring of the year, they come in from offshore deep water. All right. They're looking for a place that's rocky like the coast here is. Out there, pretty flat, pretty smooth and gravelly and stuff like that. If they shed their shell out there, something would eat them immediately. They'd be too soft to avoid it, you know. Whereas when they come in here, and this, I think that's how they started learning to survive. The ones that came in here survived. The ones that didn't know better stayed out there, you know, and didn't survive. So anyway, the males come first, and they're looking for a nice rocky area that they can go down and build themselves a nice cave. And they go down into that cave, and then the first thing on their mind is they need to shed their shell, because they've had the same shell since the previous November. All right, so 7 or 8 months they've had that shell, but they've been in like 100 and some odd feet of water where the water temperature doesn't change that much. Okay, it goes from like 41 degrees to 47 degrees, something like that, all winter long. Whereas in here, it can be below 0. I mean, below 32. Let's put it that way. I was in Celsius there for a minute. Anyway, below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So once he's down in that cave, he pulls all the moisture out of his tail and out of his claws into his body here, okay? And the blood and whatever, plasma, whatever there is in there, into the body here. And he builds up this pressure, and his back cracks right down that line. See that blue-green, see that line right there?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's a weak spot, and it's designed to be there, okay, by Mother Nature. Upside here.
I see it.
Yeah, and so it cracks open this way, and then this whole back lifts up. See, she's getting ready to go.
Oh my God.
I mean, she's not going to shed this minute.
Yeah.
But she's gonna shed probably tonight, you know, because they do everything at night. Okay, I have had them shed in the boat or started shedding in the trap, and I've interrupted them. I don't think they can stop once they start.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not sure, but anyway, I put them in a bucket and kept kept cool water in there so they're oxygenated and breathing and everything, and watched the entire thing happen. All right. So the tail comes back this way, and she flaps her tail. He flaps his tail like crazy, and pulls the entire rest of his body out through this small opening right here. All right. And it's really amazing to watch, because if you took a rubber glove and sucked in on it instead of blowing out, the fingers would kind of crinkle all up. Yeah. Well, that's what everything looks like when it comes out through. It's all crinkled up, and because he's taken all the moisture out, then he refills it, and it like blows the whole thing up. And this lobster will be 1/4 of an inch longer, about, than it is at this point. So it probably will be legal after it sheds this time. Gotcha. So after the male sheds like that, the next thing he's got on his mind is he wants to find a lady for him. They've got some strange ways. Lobsters have extremely strange things going on. But because they need to be the same physical size, the male lobster has really bright orange in here on both claws, but particularly on his crusher claw. And he takes his claw and he puts it out to the entrance to his cave, and he starts waving it back and forth like this. I've been waving for years, not doing me any good at all. I'll tell you, it doesn't work. Anyway, that will actually attract the female lobsters, and she can tell. He doesn't come out. He doesn't want to come out of his cave because he's really soft and very vulnerable at that point. Oh, by the way, right after he sheds, he eats his old shell. And the reason he does that is all the minerals and vitamins and all kinds of stuff that are in his shell goes into the new shell to make it get harder, faster, and stronger, and so forth. All right. So that's his first meal after he's shed. So now he waves his claw out there. The female comes up. She can tell by the size of the claw whether their bodies will actually fit together. All right. That's an important step right there. After she decides that's okay, now you look here. I'll come around too. You see that little tiny dot right there at the tip of my dirty fingernail? You see that little dot?
Yes.
Right there?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Let me get it in the light for you. See it right there?
Yeah.
A little dot. Well, there's actually right at the base of these two feelers, there's a little jet right there on both sides, and they come up face to face like that, and they shoot a stream of liquid into each other's face. And apparently they have receptors somewhere. I don't know exactly where they are, but they can determine the hormonal level of the opposite sex. So if they do that spraying and she says, well, wait a minute, he's not ready, she leaves, or vice versa. He backs up into his cave and says, no, don't come in here, because she's going to kill him and eat him. That's why, but they can tell this, all right? Yeah. And so lobsters are so far ahead of us when it comes to this, right? Because, we bump around in the dark and hope we have kids, or not, but anyway, that's the way it is. But anyway, so they really know whether or not they're going to be successful in mating, all right, before they even have the act of mating. So if everything is okay, he invites her in. He stands over the top of her like this, with his legs all around her body like a cage, and his claws at the entrance to the cave to keep any predator out, so he's not coming in there, getting in the way, or attempting to get to her. And then she sheds her shell. Okay. Now, once she sheds her shell, the shoe is on the other foot, because now he's the stronger and she's the weaker, and he could kill her and eat her. All right. Lobsters are cannibalistic. Okay. They are particularly under stressful situations. When you put them in a lobster car or in a lobster tank or something like that, they're bad. All right. And a lot of times, sometimes I'll find a small lobster that's been killed in the trap. It's not because they're hungry. They just do it because they're mean. Yeah. They're not good. These guys are not social at all. The lobsters are the what do they call those things? Crayfish down in Florida, for instance, or in the Caribbean. They're a very, very social animal. In fact, I talked to one of the fishermen down there. He says he'll leave a small lobster or crayfish in the trap, and it talks. and it calls all the ones around. Hey, I'm having a party over here, and they all come over, and he says he doesn't even use bait. That's how he gets them to come. Now, I don't know if he's pulling my leg or not, but it sounds pretty logical. Not with these guys. These guys, they're not into that at all. The minute they see each other down there, the claws are up in a fighting position, and it's all about territories, and you back off, I got this rock, you know, type of thing. All right, so now he rolls over on her back after she sheds. She's eventually going to eat her old shell also and mates with her, okay? So they do mate face to face. And actually, the female's tail, when they're bigger, the female tail gets wider and wider, and that's to accommodate the male's tail fits inside of it, all right? So now, she's not really pregnant at this point, though. She will actually carry his semen and her eggs inside of her body for 6 to 12 months. Right? She may mate multiple times with other male lobsters that she likes the looks of the claw better. Yes, for whatever reason, they do mate multiple times. But he's no angel either. He keeps right on waving his claw. You know, to go, you know. So that's the way it happened. And the whole idea behind this is that she wants as many males as she can get to fertilize her eggs for the best chance of good reproduction, okay? So now, in 6 to 12 months, they don't know what, nobody turns on a light or says today's the day or whatever, but whatever the reason is, she extrudes the eggs out under her tail, and they attach themselves under the, in rows on these flippers, okay? And that's really important, but I'll get back to that. And then she shoots out the semen, and now they are fertilized eggs, okay? And they come out very, very tiny and black, okay? And if you've ever eaten like in a sushi bar and seen smelt eggs, which are really small, you know, that's about the size of lobster's eggs when they first come out. As they will actually grow for the next 6 to 12 months under her tail, all right? And they will be about 3 times as big as when they first come out. So they grow quite a bit under the tail. And they change colors. They go from black to almost the color of your pants, kind of a brownish green color, okay? And so once that takes place, then they will, when they mature on there, and they don't shed, but they grow larger, okay? And what they're doing is somehow they're accumulating fat and protein inside the egg. I don't know exactly how that works. I'm not a scientist, actually. So they then, off they go. They disengage themselves and they float to the surface, right? When they get to the surface out here, within 3 feet of the top of the ocean, they float around for 6 to 10 weeks up here. At that period, when they're really vulnerable, they get eaten by the millions. Millions and millions of them. You think a big female lobster had 1.5 million eggs. They're all coming off at the same time. Well, you wouldn't want those all in one little cove or something, right? So that 6 to 8 weeks, they spreads out where they are. You know, they get pushed around by the wind currents and the wave currents and all that sort of stuff. So they get separated. Well, they actually grow up on the surface 7 times and shed. They don't shed, but they hatch 7 times during that period. And it's kind of like looking at a child in utero. You know, a fetus, you see it, well, it's got its thumb today, you know, then something else, and then more and more down the line it's developed more and more until it finally looks like a child. Well, it's very similar with these guys. When the last time, the 7th time, the egg actually looks like a lobster. It's got a tail, it's got claws, the whole works. It's jet black, except from this area here out on both claws, and also on the tail here is really white, like that boat is really white colored. And when they're laying in the sand, they look like a little black stick about that long. They're about 1.5 inches long, and they look exactly like a stick until you put your finger down there. Then you see the claws come out like this, and it's got that standard Y shape to it, you know, and you say, oh, that's a baby lobster. But they really, I never saw my granddaughter. She's 13 years old. We are actually in this little cove right over here. There's a beach over here, and there's a little back cove in there that you can snorkel in. she says, Grampy, I think those are baby lobsters down there. And we both had snorkel. We were walking because the thing is shallow enough you can wade around in there. And we were bending over looking down at different things, and I was pointing this out and that out. And she said, I think those are baby lobsters. We look again, and she put her finger down, and sure enough, they spread their claws like I had never seen one before.
That's cool.
And, you know, so anyway, I got to throw this guy over. It's really funny because as warm as it's been this summer, this has got a lot of heat in the sun right now.
Yeah.
You're probably feeling it more than I because I'm in the shade. Yeah, these guys dry out pretty fast. They
Yeah.
don't do well if they get cold. I mean, if they get too warm. If you have lobsters that you want to have for dinner or something, as long as you keep them refrigerated at about 40 degrees, you can get 2 days out of them usually. More than that, you're taking a chance. And I always tell everybody out here, if you got one in your refrigerator and it's not moving at all, it's dead. Throw it away.
Right.
Because they spoil very, very rapidly once they die. The bacteria in them grows very quickly, and once you've been sick with lobster sickness, you never want to come near one again after that. Let me set this and haul another one, see if we can find another lobster. See, find a little bigger. This isn't bad right here, but it would be out there.
Yeah.